Oh, hey there, folks. This is your host, Kate Gaffney of Service from Hell, and I'm jumping on to say that this is week 2 of 2 with the lovely writer, director, and improviser Gracie Simmonds, who is also my friend. She gets into even juicier stories about all the ways she had to really, be able to rub 2 pennies together to be able to pursue her art, and she is still doing it, and she's crushing it, and I'm really proud to be her friend. So, yeah, 2 weeks in a row, and we're going to get started with part 2 right now. Let's get on with the show.
I'm very good at compartmentalizing.
You have to be.
In a way that's
probably unhealthy.
Dangerous. Yeah, probably terrible. Probably a psychologist would be like,
ma'am,
you got some doors locked in there that aren't,
So trauma, previous trauma.
And then it's, with that, like, I'm still doing comedy on the side, even during that time.
When did you have time, my dear? It sounds like you were working a whole lot.
Yeah. So
how?
I don't know. I guess
Gracie.
maybe a week. I remember too, there'd be times where it's like I would do a show, and it would be done at like midnight or something. And I'm like, okay, guys, I have to go because I have to get
go
up
to
at
work.
4, to go to work at 6 or whatever time I had to get up.
Well, I'm going to ask the question the audience is already thinking because you're from the backwoods of Missouri. Was there meth involved somehow? Were you cooking and or using?
Me.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know it was an option. No.
I mean, I guess there is something to be said for being in your 20s and having that kind of energy, but I just think just the emotional piece of this.
Yeah.
I just could. So at what point were you like, the compartmentalization is no longer working and I cannot do that? Like, what got you out of both of those jobs at the same time?
So it was the, well, because for me, it was like the comedy. It's like, well, that's what's keeping me alive at this point is the fact that I get to perform and rehearse and whatever. The other 2 things are just like a means to the end. But I remember I had as an adult woman, I had a sleepover with my friends for my birthday.
Good,
which
it's
I
fun.
think should
Everyone
happen
should do
more often.
I totally agree.
And at that sleepover, I was like not having any fun, even though it was literally my birthday. We watched this terrible movie that I absolutely love. It was like a spoof movie or whatever that I, to this day, still holds such a special place in my heart.
Say the name. What is it?
Zombievers.
Great.
It's
Someone's going to watch it.
Check it out.
Yeah.
It's so great. Yeah, and I'm like with all the people in the world I want to be with, and I'm not having a good time because I'm so stressed out about this alarm job. And I hated that.
Relatable.
I hated that was my life at that moment because I was like, this is like my day. The one day a year adult justifiably gets to celebrate themselves and I'm not having a lick of fun.
Yeah. So in that moment at that birthday, you were thinking, no matter the money, no matter what, I have to quit.
Yeah. I was like, I'll quit the alarm job and I'll go back full time to the preschool.
But you wouldn't be able to live on that. So what'd you do?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I obviously made it work. You know what I did?
Here we go.
You know what I did?
She's covering her face. What?
I know it's a visual podcast, but do you see these holes in my arms?
I did. And honest to God, I noticed that earlier. And I was like...
Is that why you asked about the myth?
No. Unrelated. No, and I was like, are those freckles or are those holes?
No, those are holes because I religiously donated plasma for like 6 years.
Gracie Simmonds. We have to end. We have to end the podcast right now. I don't even. Did you owe money to the mafia? How much? Like, it doesn't cost this much to live in the Midwest. Did you pay for your own school, your own college?
It's just me. So I paid for literally, everything, every dime of everything I've ever had.
Y'all, we have some really lovely listeners. Can y'all fund the next project Gracie wants to do? Or can y'all just reach out to her? Ma'am. So you have permanent scars.
Yeah. They're pretty large.
They look like track marks, straight up.
Know.
And I was like,
forget about them often.
I was like, oh, maybe they're freckles. I've never noticed those before on your arms. We've hung out 100 times. I've never noticed them. So you have permanent track marks from donating plasma during the same time.
Yes.
Ma'am.
Because it's like 2 hours of a week and you
get money,
like $100, or whatever.
This is how psychotic all of us in entertainment are. We are all unwell.
I literally sold my body
to be able to do this work.
Yes.
It has to be a higher calling from a higher power, from God, from something, because otherwise we would not be equipped to do the stupid stuff we have to do to be able to float this career.
And
this is insane, yes. Gracie.
And I'm like shockingly good at donating plasma.
No, like, please don't say that sentence. Gracie, what does that mean?
I could do it so fast.
Okay, so I think people don't know why that matters. So can you...
So like you go in and I mean, plasma is weird too, by the way, because it hurts. It's just like when you donate blood, except the needle's ginormous.
They're massive.
There's a special machine that some genius invented who's like a billionaire now, where it separates your blood from your plasma. And then sounds so wow, when you step outside of something and then explain it to somebody, you realize how insane you are. Then the machine keeps your plasma, but then puts your blood back inside of you right away.
Yeah.
So it'll do however many trips of that it needs to do before it fills up the bag with plasma. So you want to have like the least amount of time possible so you can get out of there quicker. I mean, you're still going to get paid the same, but it's like you're freezing because then they put a big old bag of saline solution inside of you to like compensate for that plasma. Oh my gosh. So I always took a blanket. I took headphones. I had like either movies I was going to watch or scripts I was going to write and or read through. And yeah, I could do it in like 5 or 6 treks sometimes or whatever it was
That
called.
Is so fast, Gracie.
Fast.
That can't be good. So what was your iron count like? I mean, I guess you're getting your blood back.
I was like
anemic like crazy.
I mean, the place I went was legitimately like the cleanest. Like they were so serious about your health. So you did a questionnaire every time. Then they took your blood pressure. They took your iron. Like they pricked. The worst part for me was always they pricked your finger and then they take your iron and then they take your weight and all that stuff. And so then I learned like, okay, if my iron's low, like I made sure I'm eating spinach or, like I also, it turns out like iron supplements do better if you also take them with citrus.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I'm not a doctor, but I'm a comedian. So that could be a joke or it could be
grain of salt.
Yeah. So I would do that to make sure because my iron would start like if there was times where like I couldn't donate because of my iron, that was like so devastating me, especially if it's on your second donation of the week. Because the first they get you by getting that second one because the first donation they're like, oh, here's $20. But if you do a second donation that week, you get like 80.
Gracie.
Yeah.
I can't even, my brain, like I can't take this all in at once. So you have permanent track marks from donating plasma. So were you donating plasma at the time of the alarm job?
Yes.
How'd you have time, Gracie?
So it's like, also you can only do plasma 2 times in 7 days and you have to have 24 hours in between. So I usually did it Monday and Wednesday afternoon and you had to like schedule like pretty far in advance. But it's like if I couldn't donate on Monday, my whole system is off then.
Because you need the money.
Yeah. So it's like, it's serious that I get to do this. And then they would do bonuses too every now and then. They're like, oh, your 8th donation of the month, you get $100 or however much. So it's like you want to be in there donating. Gosh, I totally forgot I even did that.
That's crazy, Gracie. That's crazy. So, I mean, God bless, like you were doing a good thing and earning money, but I don't, so how long did it take for you to have how many times would you guess you did that in your life?
I mean, so there's 52 weeks in a year. I did it twice a week. That's like 104 times 6 years. So like
Gracie.
So like 624 times?
Do you have any plasma left in your body?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of saline, I'm sure.
Oh my God. Wait, do you do that out here still?
No, I have looked into it though, but the closest place to me is like I think like Van Nuys or something. And
Van Nuys is too far away.
And it's too far for me.
That's too far.
For right now.
I used to live there. It's too far from everything. Wait, as I say all the time. So, you do that for 6 years?
At least 6 years. It was at least 6 years.
Did at some point someone that worked there have an intervention and be like, yo, we see you too much and you have holes, divots in your arms?
Well, because it's like I've not seen anybody else have scars like this.
Neither have I ever.
But it's like because of where they could stick it, they always put it in the same hole.
That feels crazy.
Put it in the same hole.
That feels crazy
to me. I would think I would say. But so normally they would do like different ones, but it was like that's where it worked on either side. But yeah, if I hold my arms like this, it's like they definitely, and like my kids, my preschool kids would like poke their fingers in it and be like, "What's that hole?"
Oh, I'm gonna throw up.
Not like while it's actively open.
It's actively open right now, Gracie.
It's just a divot. I could probably, if I needed to carry water, droplets, I could put them in there.
So gross. It's so gross. I have to understand So you're doing all of this at the same time.
Yes.
Was your eventual focus, I'm going to get out of customer service. Like comedy is ultimately what I want.
Yeah.
But what was your plan to get out of all of this chaos?
I think it was save money to move to Los Angeles.
That was the
kind
goal.
of thing. Yeah.
Okay, so you had a bigger purpose in mind.
Yeah. But then, like, of course, that gets railroaded because I got into, like, a pretty rough car accident where I was, like, hit by a semi-truck. But it sounds worse than it is me saying it like that.
I don't know how you minimize that. Sounds like kind of a big deal, Gracie.
So, like, the guy was turning left. He had his left turn signal on. He got in the middle lane to turn left, and I kept going, and then he decided to turn right. And it, like, plowed over my car. And then, but then the police were like, "Oh, we don't know."
What do you mean we don't know?
Because the guy was supposed to turn right, but I think he messed himself up. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I was going to a babysitting job. Because every morning at 4...
What is happening? Gracie, are you dead? Am I talking to a ghost? I have to be talking to a ghost.
Every morning at 4 a.m. I would go pick up this little boy in another town who went to my preschool because his mom was in school to be like a doctor, anesthesiologist or something. But she had to go... If anybody knows Missouri geography, she had to go from Springfield to Joplin.
That's too far,
which
girl.
is a ways. So I would go to her house at 4 a.m. I was her son's preschool teacher. I would take care of him, and then I would drive him to school.
I hope she paid you $200 every time.
I opened the school at 6 a.m.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Tell me the baby was not in the car when the sun hit you.
I was on my way to their house when it happened.
Lord. Did you end up in the hospital?
No. My car was still like drivable-ish, but what it did is it gave me my very first panic attack. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know that was a panic attack. Scared the daylights out of me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm not in control of my own body, turns out.
Yeah.
And so then went and sought out like therapy, did hypnotherapy, highly recommend.
Not a girl.
Yeah, hypnotherapy for that. But then...
You weren't even in LA yet, too.
No.
That's such an LA...
Yeah,
well done, you.
And then all the money I had saved at this point, which is not a lot, I think it was like $5,000 or something, but I had to use that to get a new car and then pay like the taxes on that. And then Obamacare screwed me over too at taxes time, and I owed like $1,200 to the government somehow, even though I never once went to the doctor. Never.
Look, healthcare in this country is such a delight.
Yeah.
It's so easy. Everyone's having a good time. The number of people I know who are like, I can't go to the doctor and get this checked out because I'm gonna owe money.
Well, and I just paid $2,000 for this tooth.
I do. So. Put a pin in that. Feeling really good. I want to go back though. So I guess, so why was the semi-truck driver not cited? Because he said
Even
I had my right.
When I got out of the car, he goes, I immediately called the police, right? And he goes, what are you doing?
Calling the cops, you dumbass.
Like, I'm calling the police because and he goes, well, why? You're going to get in a lot of trouble. Immediately started gaslighting me.
Of course.
And I was like, why? You just hit me. Like, it's obvious. And he was like, no, I didn't. You hit me. Is what he said.
Ma'am.
So then when the police came, they were just like, well, he has this story and you have this story. So, and like I think he was like supposed to be turning into his company, but for whatever reason, I don't know if he was like on something or what. He got in the middle lane, had his left turn signal on, because I was even thinking, oh, that's weird that he's going to turn into that place, but whatever. Yeah. But I think like he would have lost his license, his job, probably his livelihood.
Good, fine. Who cares? This is the kind.
But that's like what I was told later by someone whose dad was a truck driver. Was like, it sucks, but that's probably why he was like lying and stuff. So
see, I'm sorry, I'm really struggling to find the compassion for that. I know we all make mistakes, but I'm at the very least, he could have been quietly like, look, I'll lose everything. Can I please just pay for your car?
Just like, let me just like level with you
and
here.
Any reasonable person would have said, sure, no problem. I'm not here to ruin your life, but you also just cost me all this money from your mistake.
And a dream. And
culpability goes both ways. Ooh, girl. Ooh, I could start screaming, but this isn't about that. Okay, so all the money that you had saved goes towards that. So then are you just like, cool, I got to work at this preschool in perpetuity until...
Yeah. I was doing that, and then, thank God, I think that Jesus was like, listen, I love you enough. I'm going to throw you a bone, girl. So there... at the time was like a Midwest, like the only late night talk show in the entire Midwest filmed in my town.
Can you mention who it stars? Because he's just the most delightful
my buddy,
human.
Jeff Houghton.
Jeff Houghton is the nicest human.
The coolest, nicest guy. Like,
and that late night show has won Emmys.
Yes.
And it has put
I'm Emmy nominated.
That's amazing, Gracie. And that has put up a lot of people because he is enormously generous.
Oh, yeah.
Is the show still running?
So they don't do tapings anymore. They do like live shows now.
Okay.
I think it just like grew into this thing. Like we weren't expecting to be like, I think at one point we were in like over 17 markets, meaning like 17 different locations and just like across the country. But he randomly, I think he like texted me one day. He's like, hey, this is Jeff, which we like didn't really know each other, but like I think like I knew who he was just from like improv stuff because I'd seen him perform before or whatever.
And he was out in LA doing a bunch of stuff and realized this market was flooded and very wisely was like, oh, I have a dream that doesn't fit into that over flooded market. I'm gonna take my dream elsewhere. Keep going.
And like I met with him one day and he was like, oh, I've just heard that you're really funny and you're a writer and I would love for you to like be our writer's assistant on the show. And like
so
literally
generous.
Just without being like, let me read some of your work. Let me see what you can do. He was like, here's what it is. You want to be in on this? And I was like, absolutely, I do. Sure.
Where does this fall in the timeline of getting hit by the semi truck? Because I will never stop saying that.
Maybe like a year and a half after. Or
so you just
maybe like a year after
before Jeff reaches out to you, you're full time just back at the preschool. You're no longer doing the alarm job and you're just like hand to mouth trying to figure it out.
Pretty much. I'm like doing every babysitting job I can possibly do. I'm, just trying to keep my head above any sort of amount of water that is there.
That is slowly drowning you. Yes. Okay. So then Jeff reaches out to you. He somehow got your contact information. He's like, hey, you want to do this? And you're like, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you become a writer's assistant. Put a pin in that because we're not talking about that yet.
Okay.
Did we decide how many customer service jobs you've had total? The audience is going to get annoyed.
I wrote stuff down because I was like, I don't know.
Say them all. Because I'm not. The problem is when you interview your friend.
And I delivered phone books. The mall, the alarm company. Does preschool teachers that counts?
I think so.
I mean, you're dealing with people's
parents,
most precious commodity.
Yeah.
The tech stuff, RA stuff.
Tech stuff I don't count. I count RA.
And then what I do now, I guess that's client services.
Yeah, but we'll skip that because I don't want you to. Yeah. Okay, great. So give me a total number.
Maybe
how many?
Like 6, 7?
7. Okay. What was your favorite job, excluding what you currently do? Because obviously that's your favorite. What's your favorite of all of it? You can't say comedy because obviously.
Well, obviously comedy. Yes. I think I had and still do have a love-hate relationship with being a preschool teacher.
Why? What's the love-hate?
The pay is shit. Shameful. Yeah. Absolutely. You should be ashamed of yourself
for what you're asking
a preschool owner and you don't treat your employees well.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because 9 times out of 10, your preschool teachers are making minimum wage. I was making minimum wage for a long time, but then worked there for so long that eventually I wasn't making that. And knew at the time, I was like, I might, if I might be making more than my boss. Not really, but
well, look,
close to it,
loyalty matters.
Kind of thing. Yeah. But I also absolutely loved my kids. I always call them I don't have children, but those are my kids. Loved my kids to an nth degree, but also was completely overworked. There's different ratios of different ages. So it's 1 teacher per 10 preschool kids, but they'll put 2 teachers in a classroom with 20 kids. So it's a lot. And then I think at one point I had 34 kids enrolled in my class.
Ma'am.
But it's not everybody's there every day. And then we use this alcove area as a extra space for teaching the more advanced kids or whatever.
Which is so unfair. You're already set up in a caste system before you're I could go.
And I just wish that quality was prioritized over quantity in that sense, in the sense of numbers for kids, because there was kids who I'm deeply bonded to, who I still am in contact today. Some of them are 13, 14 years old, and I was their preschool teacher.
Wow.
And then some who I'm cannot even remember the kid's name, kind of thing. Or knew wholeheartedly at the time, even as a teacher, I can't devote the time I want to these kids. Because if you think about it, I always break things down in numbers. 20 kids in a classroom, if I devote 1 minute to each child, that's 20 minutes right there. So then it's but you're not going to sit with just one kid for,
can't
20 or 1 minute.
1 minute.
So breaking it down like that, when you look at it quantitatively in that sense, you're wow, these kids can have 10 minutes of my time.
They're swallowed.
Maybe one-on-one, if that, but then it's but then the other kids who need more structure and attention because their parents are convinced they walk on water.
Oh, God.
Unfortunately, you have to give your time to kind of make sure everybody else in the class has a great experience despite this child throwing chairs and fits and whatnot.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah. But at the same time, like, you love them so much and you're changing the trajectory of their life potentially.
You are. That's right.
And they're changing you. You
That's
know?
right. That's fair. So that's both your favorite and your least favorite, would you say?
I think so.
Answers both? Okay. What's the weirdest thing you've been asked to do whilst you're on the clock?
So working with babies. So for a long time, I worked at the preschool in a classroom of like 1-year-olds. And I actually, you know what? I think I was the director of the school at this time, which should never
be.
Never be. I should not be the person in charge of 80 kids.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I actually think I was the director. And my teachers were like, hey, can you come in here? I do. And they were like, this parent left this device here and their kid was like stuffed up. And you know those little like booger squeeze things? I have no clue what they're called.
Booger squeeze things.
She didn't bring one of those for us to use on her kid. She
brought like a nebulizer.
This, like, straw.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, you heard me. It's like specifically, even on the packaging, it shows you put the straw in the baby's nose and you suck out the boogers on the other end.
No. I'm gonna throw up. No, ma'am. I could only do that with something that came out of my parts. I will not do that with something that came out of someone else's parts. You're not getting their boogers in my mouth.
Can you just imagine asking another human being to do that?
Never. Not ever. Not now. Not tomorrow.
To your child or to another no.
Even in an alternate reality, I can't imagine asking someone. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
So then I had to be the one who had to make the phone call to her being like, hey,
we're not sucking boogers out of your kid's nose.
Which is like what I want to say, of course. I want to be like, listen, I'm not about to put my mouth on the end of this thing and inhale. You know, and just like,
so what did you say? How do you politically correctly?
I don't even remember what I said. I'm sure that I posed it as just like, oh, hey, it's like a safety thing. You know, I think I even put it on like, oh, we would love to, but we just can't. The government says we can't.
Sucking boogers is something we should have it on our grist.
I wish today would have been the day.
And yet we're rule followers over here. We can't be doing that.
Darn it.
Gross. Yeah, that wins for the thing that made me the sickest and also is the weirdest for sure. And we've had some weird answers on this spot. What incident made them ask to speak with your manager? I doubt you ever had anybody.
Oh, really? Yes, I did.
Oh, tell. Do tell.
So, yes, there have been at least once that I can think of that was like blatant, but I know that there were others. I just can't think of them now. Where parents wanted to complain about me. There was one mom who is one of those people who just wants to be angry with no reason. Like I remember one day her son was like not a well-behaved child. And he was very aggressive with the other kids too. So that made it rough for me because also anybody who works at child, because also I forgot too, I also worked at a school, but like an elementary school. But anytime you're having to tell a parent that their child, like you can't just be like, yeah, they like cold cocked, you know, so-and-so right in the nose and it bursted open. But like, you can't word it that way. You have to be like, oh, you know, today, Steven was really feeling his emotions today and he had a very hard time giving nice touches to his friends. I want to chuck a knife through my own temple with that kind of language. Yeah. You can't be like, your child cold cocked another kid. You have to shoot me in the face. Like they don't even want you to use the words like hitting. Like you have to be like, but he had a really tough time with soft touches today. Legit. Here's the thing. You can call a horse a unicorn or you can call a cow a monkey, but the facts don't change because you don't like them. Right. Like, how do you, what would parent, like if I were the parent where you were like telling me my child had trouble with soft touches, I would never stop throwing up. And I would say, can you just tell me what actually happened? Well, thank God there were a lot of parents who were like, just, did they hit him? Just tell me. Just say it. Or they'd be like, tell me who they hit. And you like legally, you can't tell them like who they hit. I get that part. Yeah. Or who hit them or whatever. But you can be like, well, if the kid tells you, I didn't tell you. And then they're like, oh, okay. You know, Timmy, who'd you punch? Which they're, you know, well, fully capable of doing that. Yeah. But yeah, so I remember one day she came into the classroom and she was just like looking around at the stuff that was like hanging on the walls. And I had like a birthday chart up with like, oh, in November it's these kids' birthday with like their pictures. And I guess she didn't see his. So she was, even though it was like fully up there, but she was like, oh, well, I guess he doesn't get to be up on the birthday wall, huh? And I was like, I'm sorry? Like, I didn't understand what she was saying. And she's like, well, he's not up here. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's right here. Like, in the month that's his birthday.
You dumb human.
But it was just stuff like that where for some, I don't know.
Looking for fights.
Yeah, just looking for a reason. Even though, like, I never really even had to, like, talk to her or anything because I opened the school and left by like 2:30, you know,
so you just didn't see her.
So like I didn't see her at pickup, and normally her husband dropped off, but it was like the time she would randomly drop off, it was, I don't know, she just wanted a fight.
She wishes somebody would.
Yeah, and I just like, I think though I have this tendency to make people angrier at times because I won't. Yeah, I'll stay chill.
Me too, girl. Like, it's a superpower. Yeah, it's a superpower.
It's not worth it, and it's just silly. And
I'm not gonna get in the mud with you.
So we had like a meeting because my director at the time was like fully aware, you know, like this kid is
a problem,
terrible, and a problem child, and like, but you also like don't want to kick them out. You know, there's all this legality to it or whatever. Mm-hmm. So we're meeting with them, and then it's like just us meeting one-on-one with the director, and she's like, the mom is like just naming stuff that's like outlandish, like that
didn't happen.
Yeah, or that she like just doesn't like, or she assumes or whatever
about you. Yeah,
in relation to her son, and she's getting like
hot,
very animated and aggressive, and my director was like said the lady's name and was like, you know, Gracie is like our best teacher here.
Yeah,
which, like, not to brag, but like I totally had been nominated for like teacher of the year multiple times across like all the schools. Like, I'm not there to like make a kid's life miserable. I got to be there for 8 hours a day with them. Like, come on. And so then that like ticked the mom off even more. She's like, well, I guess she's the best you got. She's your best. So
this mom was miserable and just was aiming fire at people.
And then like immediately, like the next day, it was so weird because then the next day the like husband came in, and normally like he would walk in, like sign his son in, and then his son would come like running in. And so then I was like looking for the son, and the dad was like, yeah, she just wants us to like pull him. Which was like super weird that he even came and told me that, because like I'm not involved with this at all, but I was just like, well, I'm sorry to hear that. But in my mind, I was like, that's literally no loss to me. Like,
no, it's a good thing.
You guys just did me a favor.
Yeah. Because this is chaos.
Yeah. So it'd be stuff like that. And there was like another mom who, it was the same kind of thing with her where she just wanted to be mad about stuff.
Yeah.
But then it was a lovely turnaround with her where like we did have a meeting. And then I think like she just in that moment finally saw me as like a human and not this person she decided she was going to hate. Mm-hmm. And like immediately, like props to her throwing down her pride in that moment and was like, okay, you know, I'm sorry, I was like a total jerk. And she had been for a long time, and then like suddenly wasn't. So you have stuff like that.
Well, letting people, I mean, people being allowed to change is huge. Okay. So that woman had asked to speak to the manager about you specifically because you're so terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. I agree with her. Okay. Has a Yelp review ever affected any of your employment? Like or any sort of online review? I shouldn't even call out Yelp specifically, but any online review of like where they named you specifically?
I mean, I'm sure that there's reviews about me from like the preschool.
But there was you didn't have a sit down.
Negative. Yeah, no. It was always like fantastic.
Good. I get it.
She said humbly.
What is the last straw that got you out of any of these jobs? When like, was it literally just Jeff giving you a call and saying, hey, I have this opportunity for you?
Well, with that, it was like the way we filmed and stuff was like once a month, and then we're meeting like once a week. So it's like not a full income to live on.
Yeah.
But I think emotionally it was just like, you got this. Don't forget, like you got this really good thing. But I would say for the alarm job, that was definitely like, I'm having too much anxiety and just can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And I hate quitting jobs, but I was like, I can just use the cop out of like, I'm going to go full time back at the preschool kind of thing.
Wow.
And then with the preschool, I was like, I'm moving to Los Angeles, so you can't game me. Bye.
Bye. Okay. And did you work in customer service jobs as soon as you got here? Like, what was the job you got here?
I worked at an elementary school.
That was what you were saying before. Okay.
Yes, I forgot all about that.
That's okay. Okay. Have you ever flexed on a customer and been like, get out of my face, or been rude? You just don't strike me as that kind of person.
No, that's just not my style.
Same.
Like, my actions and my life will speak for itself. Like, my words don't have to.
That's right, girl.
Yeah.
Good for you. How many bodily fluids have been on your person? All of them.
Blood, vomit, diarrhea, pee, all of them.
Was it all kids or was that ever an adult?
I hope it was all children.
Me too. Okay. Do you tip?
Yeah, of course.
What's your average?
I mean, at least 20.
Really? Yeah. And you've never worked a tip position ever?
Yeah, but people's livelihoods can depend on that.
Good for you, girl.
I'm from the Midwest. I know y'all be working $2.13 an hour. What kind of money is
insane?
that?
Isn't that actually insane? When I first started bartending out here and was making minimum wage on top of tips, I thought I won the lottery.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, you're going to pay us $9 or $10, whatever it is, $10 an hour, and we get tips?
Yeah, that to me, and even me not working in customer service, like not working as a waiter or ever, knowing that, like I feel rich. And I'm like, but I didn't even.
Isn't that crazy?
Why does this affect me so much?
But 213, I mean, and it's been 213 for 167 years. They have not changed because they said, well, you make tips. So this is how, but you still have to declare your tips.
Right.
I can't.
Well, even now, and not only, I mean, it's just like you have to think about how cruddy the position is the person works in. So like when I go to my vet, I always take them a huge like snack.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
I've heard that veterinarians have like the highest suicide rate of any career.
Oh, I thought it was dentists. I didn't know it was vets.
That's what I heard. So I'm like,
wow.
Well, you guys know I appreciate you. Here's some peanut butter crackers. You know,
do they love it?
And I always write them a note and I say, thank you so much for taking care of Goose. Love Gracie and Goose. And yeah, I've done it, you know, every time I've gone in there, but they act so surprised every time.
Aw. Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of similar to the alarm job that you have. Like whenever anybody is and this is true for nurses and doctors and anybody who works when they're going to see you at your worst, I feel like I forget that those people are humans first as well. And they will have a bad day. They will have a situation where they will need them or someone that does their job. Yeah. And it's hard to remember that. You're a hero.
Like 9 times out of 10, they immediately, that gets them on your side right away.
Sure.
So like, here's a fun tip. If you ever need to rent a U-Haul, take a thing of donuts in there to the guys working because they'll usually throw in some free stuff.
Manipulation's always a key. Yeah. That's good. That's
like, oh my gosh, Gracie. I thought of you guys. I knew I was coming here this morning. I got you this dozen donuts. And then they're like, oh, do you need a dolly for free? I'm like, yeah, I do.
I sure do. Here's your donuts. Yeah. Do you ever not tip? Is there a situation where you wouldn't?
I mean, I think if they abused me.
What does abuse mean?
Like if they said nasty things to me or something.
Called you outside of your name.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Or honestly, I think I would just be like, friend, are you okay?
Oh, you're a hero.
Like
Gracie.
I would think I would just kind of get to them because there is no way it has to do with me.
No, because they don't know you long enough.
Yeah. And me like ordering a salad should not make you this angry. And if it does, like you have a deeper seated issue, my friend. And I will sit and talk with you with it if you need to.
Would you really?
Yeah, 100%. I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. If you don't know what that is, look it up.
Are you?
My superpower is
listening,
letting people sit in their emotion.
Wow.
And sitting there with them, whether it's joy or pain or fear or whatever, grief. I can not know you and I will sit there. I will hold space for you.
I'm surprised you didn't feel attracted to being a therapist.
Yeah.
No thanks.
Comedy
same girl.
Is too appealing.
I know. I get told all the time, oh, you'd be a really great therapist.
Comedy's my therapy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Have you ever been fired? I already know the answer to this.
Yes.
You?
Yes.
What?
I was fired, Kate.
Gracie. For how?
I was fired.
Unjustly. It had to have been unjustly. What did you do?
I totally forgot about this. So it was at the elementary school I was working at in Hollywood.
Well, of course.
Well, that makes me immediately, when you hear that someone's fired from a school, don't you immediately think, oh, they're a sex offender?
No.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Oh my God. No, Gracie.
Now I just seeded that in everybody's brain.
Yeah, what are you doing? No, I thought you hit a kid.
Child. You're like, no, I just thought you punched a kid in the face.
Yeah.
Jesus. No. Okay, so it's like a stupid way of being fired. So I worked at the school, then the pandemic hit. So we are working online and we are working our tails off like nobody's business. It was a charter school, by the way. So if you ask me, we did way better than LAUSD. No offense to all my LAUSD teacher friends.
I don't think people know what charter schools are. Can you explain what that means quickly? I know it's hard.
I don't know. It's like a school that's not within your school system.
But isn't it privately funded? And isn't it like
funded? They have to like raise their own money.
Yeah, and they pump certain kids into it.
Certain kids can come, like whatever. So anyway, we did online, and then LA, as those of you know who were in LA during the pandemic, it completely just stopped. You know, like you couldn't even do anything.
You mean the city itself?
The city was like, just
under
forget
lockdown.
about living.
Yep.
And
couldn't even go to the grocery store.
Yeah. So then in that time, also like my school was online, my improv was online, like everything was online. And so I moved back to Missouri, and I knew at the time, like, well, I'd heard we're not supposed to work in another state or live in another state and work for the school. So I had told them like, hey, I'm moving in a month. I give them like a month's notice. Like, I'm moving in a month. Just want to give you a heads up so you have plenty of time to find somebody. And then they were like, oh, well, would you want to like live in Missouri and still work for the school? And I was like, heck yeah. Because in my mind, I thought, then I don't have to find a job.
Yep. Money.
At least until like June when school lets out. And so I did that. And then they gradually started going back, or said they were going to start going back in person, but they were like, we're going to do this like hybrid schedule. And they were like, and let us know if you need to keep being online. And so then I reach out to like my admin team and they're like, yeah, just like put in your request to HR. It'll be totally fine. No worries. So I put in my request, and literally on a Saturday night, they emailed me and they were like, because you live out of the state, we're not going to honor your request and we're going to let you go, but we would be willing to let you stay working with us until Thursday.
Wow.
And I thought, I am so lucky.
Yeah.
4 whole days.
Because
after that was spring break. Yeah. So then I was just like absolutely shocked. Just frustrated because I was like, I was honest up front. Like y'all knew.
Yeah.
And so then my like direct supervisor reached out to me. She was very upset and very much in my corner. And then she's like, okay, I've talked to them. Like, you can work for like 2 more weeks, you know, if you want to. And in my mind, I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to, because I know you're firing me. I'm not going to quit, because then what if I need unemployment or whatever?
Yep.
Which then unemployment tried to come back at me, and after they had paid me out, and would be like, well, when did you quit this job? They kept using
the word quit,
vocabulary quit, and I crossed it out on every line, and I said, I did not quit. I was fired.
Good job, you.
Yeah. So yeah, I was fired.
Okay. Well, have you ever been pushed to the point of anger? Because you seem so even keeled. Have you ever like?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay. Just checking.
Yes.
Just want to make sure that people know you're a human being.
Yeah.
Worst customer, top to bottom. Last question in this section. If you have ever had a direct, I mean, that woman you described at the school was pretty nasty.
Yeah.
But is there either an experience you had directly you can remember, or an archetype of who is the worst customer?
Yeah. So one person immediately came to mind, and it was this dad at the preschool. So the way the preschool was set up was like classes are like baby, 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3 and 4-year-olds, and then like 4 and 5-year-olds. But they call them the 3-year-old class and the 4-year-old class. It shouldn't be called that. It should be called the preschool and the pre-K is what it should be called. So a couple of the kids had turned 4, but we have to wait for other kids to age out, you know, of pre-K to go to kindergarten to then move other kids up. So she was like 4, a couple other kids were 4. So she would be like, I'm 4, but I'm in the 3s class. And I'm like, but it's really the preschool class. Twice her dad called me and chewed me out in a way that was like completely unnecessary. And like at the time I was the director of the school too. And so he's like completely degrading me. He's like, who's even in charge up there? And like screaming at me and doesn't let me speak. But also I was like, there's no point in me speaking. But then it like immediately took me back to childhood of being screamed at. Mm-hmm. And I was like crying so hard I could not even talk, like that kind of crying where like you try to speak and you're hyperventilating and you can't. Yes. And to this day, like he's not in the same circles that like I still am in, but like the outside of one of those friendship groups he's in. And every time I see him, I'm just like, gross. You're so gross.
But why did he yell at you?
Just because he wanted his kid in the pre-K classroom instead of the 3 and 4-year-old classroom.
Who cares?
Yeah.
And you're going to ream someone for that?
Yeah.
That is hands down the worst interaction.
It was just like, there was literally nothing I could do. He's like, well, I'm not bringing her back until she's in there. And I was like, okay, well, what would you like me to do about billing? And he was like, just figure it out. I'm like, well, you're still going to get charged because it's a company. Like I have nothing to do with billing. I'm not, whatever.
Also BFD, like you want your kid in a certain class and they're not in there. Yeah. Take it to the corporation. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you.
It was like one of those moments again, where it's like, I assume you don't have power anywhere else. Yes, so you like,
that's right.
Unnecessarily like heavily wield it in this area to like someone who's like smaller than you and like, you know,
also in a subservient position.
Like you feel good right now.
Yeah. This is how you're getting your self-esteem and ego boost. Yeah, I've thought of that a lot, especially for people who are in service positions where they can't say anything. I've heard people like in my life be on the phone with like customer service agents and stuff. And the way that they speak, I'm like, you know, that's a human being with like a life and feelings and like they are just a cog in the wheel. Mm-hmm. They don't decide and flies with honey. Yeah. Anyway.
Anybody who can't be told no.
Yes.
That's the worst kind of person because that's
a good answer, Gracie.
We're all growing and we are doing our best and just Like, you having money doesn't mean people can't tell you no.
Come on.
Kind of thing.
Come on. Everybody gets told no. It is so sad. I love that answer. Somebody who can't be told no is right. That is the worst customer. Well, now we're going on to the good stuff. Yay. We hope you saved room for dessert. What's the nicest thing a customer has done for you whilst you were working?
So I'm excited to talk about this. One of my parents, well, not, when I say like my kids and my parents, that means like my preschool people.
Got it.
So one of the parents who I was with, I was her daughter's preschool teacher. And before I moved to Los Angeles, I might cry. Oh my gosh, has anybody cried on your podcast before? Okay.
Myself included.
I cry at like happy things, beautiful things. Too. Beautiful things get me.
I'm generous with my tears, as my friend Sarah says to me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I love that. Isn't that nice?
I'm generous with my tears.
She told me that yesterday as I was crying.
I say I reflect God's softness.
Oh, I like that. Don't make me cry. You on a hot speed.
One of the parents, we actually became friends. Like, her name's Kathy. Shout out to Kathy. I love you so much. We became friends because she came and watched me do stand up once.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's
and
sweet.
She had a blast. And then it was like, after that, we were just like bonded and like totally buds. And like, also one of the funniest, coolest people I know who does not do comedy. And I don't understand why not. But before I moved to LA, I can feel it coming.
It's okay, girl. Get there.
I did not know this was going to make me cry. She arranged like a secret surprise dinner for me from like all the moms in my class. I'm crying.
Oh my gosh. Why is that so sweet?
As like a going away. Like, good luck in LA. And they all like wrote me cards. And
that is so lovely.
I can't believe I'm crying on a comedy
You're allowed
podcast.
to. You're allowed to.
Yeah. And that like, and then even whenever I graduated UCLA, like she sent me like a card with like a gift card and
Gracie.
everything. And like, it was so... We do like phone dates like once a month, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, she's one of my best friends.
We love Kathy.
Kathy's the absolute
people like
best
Kathy,
human.
And
like,
they keep artists arting, and people like that are so rare. Shout out to Mike. I know you're listening, and Dawn. I've got a lot of those people who like just keep artists arting.
Yeah. I mean, I could literally tell Kathy, like, she's my best hype man. I could be like, oh, you know, I went out on the street and I mimed, and she'd be like, that is incredible. You're amazing.
We love Kathy. We love Kathy a lot.
She's the reason people can like get through hell and continue to do comedy, because I don't know anybody who can do it and it's like, yeah, I had this really easy way of getting here.
Yeah, those are angels on earth, though.
But yeah, she's my best customer, I guess.
That counts. Okay, so that's the nicest thing. So organize a surprise dinner for you. Noted. So would you say she's your favorite customer then you've interacted?
Yeah, I definitely have a group of like the moms who are just like parents who are cool, who are like, who would be the ones who like, if my kid does something, tell me.
Oh, they'd be like, they keep it real.
Yeah, they're and the demographic of children I worked with, their parents were like definitely the wealthier. Most of them were like doctors, lawyers, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the hardest people to say no to, or to hear no, you know, are entitled people with money. But these people were like, no, we've got money, but like we're cool, like we party and we're cool.
And we're humans.
And our kids are human. So like, text me if they ever do this again, you know?
Sure.
So, yeah.
There's a sort of social disconnect, I think, that happens when people make the assumption that rich kids are behaved better and or, you know, you have to tiptoe because of wealth. It sets up a caste system so early, and it's like, no, kids are kids because kids are humans, and it doesn't matter if they come from a house with an elevator or a trailer. Like, it doesn't... Kids are kids.
Yeah.
And,
and there was a really solid group of the parents who were just awesome. And I'm still friends with to this day, you know, who they didn't know, but like they were paying my bills by letting me babysit for them.
Oh, bless.
You know, that kind of stuff.
Would they see the holes in your arm and think,
probably they're probably like, oh, good Lord,
we got a meth head.
We'll let you come babysit every night this week, you know.
Okay. Have you ever received a tip? I know you said you got like a card with a gift card and stuff, but did you ever?
Whenever it was like Christmas time or Teacher Appreciation Week, parents would give us gifts and stuff.
That's lovely.
Yeah. So that was always like really awesome. Some of them too, they'd be like, we're keeping it real, and they would like give you alcohol. And I'd be like, can I even keep this in my classroom today?
You're like, look, I'm giving it to your kids.
Like,
your kids are like, Miss Gracie, we found your punch.
Oh yeah, they'd be like, there's your grown-up juice, you know, or whatever.
Okay. What's the best time you've ever had at work?
Oh man, I think like there towards the end of my preschool career, I had like such a phenomenal class of kids, because you really have to like train them on how to go and like how you treat them. And And like for me, it was like we'd do all these activities. My favorite was one of the little girls. I was actually Kathy's daughter. Was like,
all right, we love Kathy a lot. Oh my gosh. We love her a lot.
Kathy's daughter, of course, came up with this really fun game that it morphed into this thing where we would like after nap time every day they'd have their snack and we would do like this dance party where like I would sit and on my computer I would like DJ and they would choose like the Kids Bop song that they wanted to dance to, and then I would let them choose. The rest of us sat in a circle and then they would choose like 2 friends that they wanted to dance with them, so then they could like show off their dance moves. But then I'd also kept like a chart of like who got chosen and who didn't, so everybody got chosen at least twice and everybody got to choose.
Of course you did, twice. Gracie. Of course you did.
So that was like such a blast because then, you know, I'm just sitting there on my laptop doing fun songs and they're dancing and like just watching their confidence burst through the roof. Like that was incredible. Yeah. So I think probably that was the best time.
Okay.
You know,
it counts. Sappy. Get your tissues. What's the best lesson you've personally learned from any of these jobs?
Oh gosh. I mean, I guess like probably looking at it on like a downside, it's like people just want a reason to justify their anger.
Sure.
They just want a reason to be mad. Mm-hmm. And you can either play into that with them or you can possibly change the trajectory of where they're going with it.
How?
Know? Well, even like, for example, that mom who decided she was going to hate me and then sat and actually talked with me and I was just chill about it. Didn't react on how I actually felt, where I was just like, I think you're being ridiculous and intense and for no reason. It's how I felt, but I did not let that come out. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, from then on, her deciding like she loved me at that point, like truly, like she would message me on like the app we had for like the kids or whatever, and then I would hear her daughter being like, isn't Miss Gracie like so awesome? You know, stuff like that, where it's like I could have been, you're insane, you have ridiculous rules, you spoil your kid, you know, whatever comments I could make in my own ego's defense. And it would have then been terrible to see her every day, you know, but then because I decided I'll hold space for this time that you want to be mad, but I won't feed into it, you know.
How do you, I mean, this is not a question in this section, but I'm curious because we're so similar. How do you balance that between becoming a doormat? Because I think for me, it's like, I feel like if I hate showing my teeth. Yeah. I don't get any pleasure out of it. But I feel like with so many people, you know, in customer service and in my world, really, if I don't show my teeth, then kindness is taken for weakness. So I don't know how to balance that. I don't want to change being kind, but also feels like an opening for some people. So how do you balance that?
That's a great question. So you have to, 1, have your boundaries, and 2, be okay with other people not being okay with them. Because if you're not okay with someone not being okay with your boundaries, then you feel icky. Like you're going to feel gross anyway. And it's a muscle that you have to work on. But continuing to hold that boundary, even though you feel gross or they are trying to penetrate it, you know, in whatever sense to make you feel bad and relent, you just stick to it, I think.
So even in a customer service setting, though, specifically, would you just repeat yourself?
I think so. Yeah. I think, you know, but just as calmly, you know, like you can just be like, hey, that's not something we do here. You know,
we like take that attitude,
or even just turning it back on, putting it on a personal level for them of like, hey, are you okay?
Wow.
Like, let's step outside of this moment and just let me check in with you. Maybe nobody's checked in with you today. Or just keeping in mind too, like, you know, if somebody's coming at you, like, what was their drive like in today? Maybe they had like the worst traffic and somebody flipped them off and whatever, but they couldn't take it out on that person, but you're subservient to them right now, so they can take it out on you. But let me just make us peers in this moment. Like,
ooh, that's great advice.
You okay?
Make us peers. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
What do you do? Have you ever had an interaction where the customer service representative was being aggressive and terrible to you and you had to flip it?
Yes, I did. I was helping. My boss needed something with like his insurance wasn't billed or whatever. And I was having to call these places to like figure stuff out for him. And the person was like nasty right away, which I understand. You know, you probably don't love this gig that you're doing. And also I'm aware I don't have the information that you want because this is not even my account. I know nothing about it, but I'm going to do my best here. So he was being like really just nasty right away. And I was like, hey, I understand I don't have what you're asking for, but I also don't think you need to speak rudely to me about it. And he was like, ma'am, I am not being rude. I said, well, your voice is a little spicy.
Good for you.
So that's what I said. And then I think he probably was like, oh, she's not getting angry at me back, you know? So he knew like I wasn't going to be a jerk back. And so then I did like hear him like kind of course correct. Like he was still snobby, but his tone was at least a lot better.
That's a really good. I love the word spicy.
Yeah,
Your
I didn't. Well, because I
spicy.
didn't want to say
rude or aggressive because it's
But the first thing that came to mind was spicy, so I was like,
I love
say
it.
That.
That's great. Good job, you, Gracie. Okay, so what did you say was the best lesson you'd learned? No, what did you say? It was good. You answered this. Did I already ask this?
Yeah.
Like, what did you say?
People just want to have a reason to be mad. I think.
Got it. Okay, got it. Thank you. Sorry. The audience is going to be like, you're right.
Say thank you for clarifying.
Thank you for clarifying, Gracie. What's one piece of advice you would give to customers who interact with customer service workers?
I would say, like, they're a person too.
What?
Please look at them as another living, breathing human being. You don't own them.
What?
You don't own their time.
That feels crazy, Gracie.
They, 9 times out of 10, they're like writing down the salad you wanted and taking it back to the kitchen, having no control over it from that point, and then carrying it back to you. Like, calm down. Mm-hmm. They're not performing surgery on your brain, and like,
come on,
your life is not going to be ruined because
Miss
they
Gracie.
brought you Italian dressing instead of ranch. Like, ranch is amazing. Yes, we all know that.
Yes, it is. Shout out to ranch. We do a lot of shout outs.
Ranch. Hidden Valley, come for me.
Come for me. Sponsor this podcast.
Taco Bell in Hidden Valley. Yeah, and like, just looking at another human, I just can't handle when other people are so entitled of being like, well, I have money, so you can't tell me no, or you have to do this because of who I am. I'm like, I don't know you. I'm trying to help. I'm here to help you.
Yeah.
Like, you need me in this moment as your servant or whatever. So like, chill. We're all people. You're not Jesus. Like, come on, chill out.
Do you think you'd be different with Jesus? Do you feel like you'd be like,
I'd be at his feet. I'd be just like,
so it's the one
Mary
case
down there at his feet crying with my tears, washing it with my hair. I would totally be doing all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the one. He's the one where the exceptions are made.
He's my true love.
Okay, got it. Okay. Well, is there anything else that you wish people knew about customer service or these jobs or anything else you've taken away that you're like, because I think I've asked a lot of people this, like, there's a sense, especially when, the comics that I've had on that have done or are doing exceptionally well in their careers. And I've started to ask, has there been a piece of these old customer service jobs that you either miss and kind of want to go back to, or that you think informs the entertainment work that you're doing now?
Oh, that's such a great question.
It's crazy.
I think especially once you start getting more success in the career field you want to go, you have got to surround yourself by people who will tell you no.
That's right.
And by people who will check you.
That's right.
And not a yes person always. Mm-hmm. And I think a great way to be humbled is, when you're working in like a restaurant, things like that. People have no qualms with telling you who you are, where you should go, and all that.
All about yourself.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So 100%, like, just surround yourself with real people who will tell you real things and not build up your ego. Like, if everyone around you is building up your ego, you're have a problem. Yeah. You are in the wrong group, and you need to get out.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So you think some of that has informed, like, do you think that those are lessons that you learned because of working in customer service? Or do you feel like you would have felt
partly I did. Yeah. Okay. Because we're going to, like, people in the kitchen, they'll tell you, like, you're a piece of garbage. The customer will tell you you're a piece of garbage.
They sure will.
They'll be like, I baked you this humongous humble pie. You are going to eat all of it. Not just this one little piece.
Every bite.
I'm going to watch you with my arms folded the whole time. Enjoy. You dropped a crumb.
Lick the plate.
Lick the plate. Yeah. All that. And I think it just kind of, it's sad that it's like, because it's unnecessary in the grand scheme of eternity. But at the same time, like, it is important for you to know your ego doesn't belong anywhere ever.
That's right. There's no space. I love it. Well, is that it? You want to tell anybody anything else?
No, I had a blast.
No, this was so great.
I cried. I laughed.
You did all the things. Well, how can people get in touch with you? Do you want people to know your socials? Do you want to share your IMDb? Like, where are you with that stuff?
I guess they could know my socials.
Okay. What are they? Give them.
Okay, so I think mostly you'll find me on platforms as the Gracie Simmonds.
That's my same deal.
Heyo. I also have like another on TikTok. I'm that, but I'm also more of the comedy stuff is on like Go with Gracie, I think is my handle.
So can you spell Gracie Simmonds? It'll be obviously in the title and the show notes and whatever. But
Gracie, Gracie, Simmonds, Simmonds.
Got it.
Simmonds with a D.
Okay, and is that what they find you on for IMDb and stuff? Is if they want to look you up?
Yeah, you find me on IMDb there. You find me on YouTube.
Okay.
All the places on the interwebs.
How can we find Goose? Does Goose have social?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna plug Goose's. Yes, Goose has an Instagram. Oh, he has a YouTube as well and a TikTok. Oh my gosh.
You're a child.
Goose's Instagram is doing better than mine, by the way.
No problem.
So there's a million cats named Goose, it turns out. Because when I tried to make his handle Goose the Cat, like that was just not.
They were like, we've got that taken care of.
So I had to do Goose the Cat Simmonds, but it's like goose.the.cat.simmonds. I'm like, This is upsetting. I need to pay Goose the Cat to give me his handle.
Okay. Well, folks, we're going to drop your checks now. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to help us out here at Service from Hell, we'd love to have you subscribe, rate, and or review the show wherever you listen, but you're listening on Sirius XM right now, and we really appreciate that. It will help us reach more people that need to be schooled on the art of being kind, and will be catharsis for those of us still working in the industry. If you want to get in touch with us here directly at Service from Hell, send us your receipts to servicefromhellpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from you all, and we owe you all a listener letter episode. We know that we are super backed up. Thank you for everybody that has emailed us. We really are. That's happening. We're really sorry for the delay. Remember, if you can't afford to tip, you can't afford to go out. So don't be garbage and be good to people. It's easier that way. Thanks for being on, Miss Gracie. Thank you for your time.
We love you, Kathy.
Oh, we do love you, Kathy. And Gracie, you gave us so much time. You're going to be a 2-weeker. You're going to be on Sirius XM twice. Well done, you. Well, folks, thank you so much for listening. Find Gracie, find Kitty Goose on all the things. Good night.